Is this what you want? This fucking foliage? Is this what you want? Mr. Dips? Is this what you want? Me standing in front of EC3 buying designer coats? Is this what you want? Me sitting in some hipster hotel in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, fluffing pillows? Is this what you want? I don't believe this. This graffiti art, it's the hotels, avocado toast. All I want is a fucking Guinness. An ice cold Guinness. What the hell does that mean? Oh, this is what you wanted. This is your Monday Night Raw review right here on Off the Script. Man, this is going to be a tough one to actually get through. It really is. I don't know if I have the energy to sit here and give you guys my true feelings on everything. I don't know what else I could possibly tell you that I have not already stated on the podcast. I don't know what I could tell you that I have not already ranted about, yelled my head off about, complained about, bitched and moaned about. I even got Sal Rex texting me right now about ranting on Charlotte Flair. He asked me for a title for the thumbnail that you see in your sub boxes. I said, Charlotte Flair needs to be canceled. Charlotte Flair needs to be canceled. Charlotte Flair needs to be canceled. That's it. Live. Right there. Best in the business is Sal Rex. Folks, I am sick to my stomach about what we're seeing on WWE television. It's as if they are begging for us to just want Becky Lynch back on WWE television. They are pretty much asking us to get on our hands and knees and beg for Becky Lynch to come back. And what they don't understand is that with Becky Lynch gone, this would be a great opportunity to create the next Becky Lynch. What they had in the rise of Becky Lynch could be something that they do all over again. It could be something that could generate interest in not only the WWE, but the women's division, which right now feels like a mix and match mess with absolutely no direction. Zero direction whatsoever. Instead of building the next Becky Lynch and building the next superstar in the women's division, they have opted to kill the entire division and continue pushing the one woman that nobody wants to see pushed on WWE television. And that is Charlotte Flair. I don't know what else to tell you on top of what I've already stated to you. But I'm going to do a pretty damn good job at telling WWE exactly what they need to do with the women's division. And it doesn't include getting Charlotte Flair another win, another championship, another fucking feast at the table in the women's division that she's already had multiple of this year. We don't need Charlotte Flair in the women's division. She does nothing for the overall product. She does nothing to enhance the division. She did nothing for NXT at all. You gave her the title to enhance the division. Meanwhile, I'm looking back at everything you did coming out of WrestleMania, and I am struggling, and I don't struggle with this type of shit. I'm struggling to find where the benefit came from of giving Charlotte the NXT Women's Championship. I'm struggling to find one woman that was built up in this entire scenario. Now, you'll have your shills out there that want to stand by Charlotte and white knight Charlotte for whatever reason. I mean, I thought I was losing my fucking mind when I opened my Twitter account this morning. And I see tweets from Wrestling Inc. of all fucking places. I thought the people over there, some of them anyway, I thought some of the people over there actually had a decent fucking mindset going into talking about pro wrestling. But whoever's talking about wrestling on the official Wrestling Inc. Twitter account clearly doesn't have a fucking brain. Everybody in the community, it's like they jump on one agenda and they push it just like WWE pushes it. Why do we need Charlotte Flair? Why do we need everybody jumping on the agenda of Charlotte Flair at the same time? You see, I like when stuff like this happens because I like to make people look stupid. You're putting your faith in WWE Creative. When have these people done anything correctly? When have these people done anything correctly to a point where you could actually say and stand your ground and say, man, I'm proud of what they did. I'm going to stand with their decisions. You're putting all of your eggs in the WWE creative basket to back and white knight for Charlotte Flair. You're putting all of your eggs in the WWE creative basket because Charlotte Flair is the one thing that WWE seems to be pushing in this pandemic era down our throats. It's making me wish we lived through the Roman Reigns agenda all over again, and you all know how bad that was when WWE did it for 5 straight years. It's making me want to see Roman Reigns back on television. Why are you pushing so hard for Charlotte Flair? Why are you backing WWE's decision on pushing Charlotte Flair? She's the greatest wrestling female superstar of this generation and beyond. She's the greatest pro wrestler in the entire world at what she does as a female. She wasn't even the greatest wrestler in the match that she was in on Sunday night. She's not even the greatest wrestler on her brand on Monday. She wasn't even the greatest wrestler in the main event of Raw tonight. In that entire segment, I could pinpoint 2 women, 3 women that are better than Charlotte Flair at what she does. Charlotte Flair is a superstar, and she looks like a superstar, and she acts like a superstar. I'm sorry. When did this become the Charlotte Flair era? And why are you so obsessed with Charlotte Flair? It's as if everybody is just joining in on these agendas one by one. It's like 2020 is the year of the agenda. No matter where we look. I love when situations like this come about. I really do. Like I said before, after I got off track. I love when situations like this come about because I feel like I'm in the community and I'm battling alone. I feel like I'm leading the charge of the Charlotte Flair era, and I'm against it. And I'm leading the charge. I got my shield, and I got my fucking sword, and I got my battle armor, ready to go to war, and I'm leading an army of people behind me, whether you're with me or against me. I don't even give a shit. I don't. I'm leading the charge regardless of what you have to say about Charlotte Flair or how you feel about Charlotte Flair. I'm not even going to talk about anything in this entire half an hour that I talk about this outside of Charlotte Flair. Because what difference does it make? This entire episode was Charlotte Flair. This entire episode was the Queen. The Queen. This woman was in the main event of NXT TakeOver in Your House. And Triple H even had to come on a post interview or a post conference after the show was over and explain why Charlotte Flair did not take the pin in the triple threat match at NXT TakeOver in Your House when she lost the Women's Championship to Io Shirai. In that match was Rhea Ripley, who has been absolutely dead and buried ever since WWE made the decision to have her lose against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Now, I'm not sure where I am missing the point here. I'm not sure where I stand amongst everybody else that's in the Charlotte Flair agenda. But wasn't the idea of Charlotte Flair winning the NXT Women's Championship, wasn't the idea of giving her that championship in the first place to give her the best division in all of women's wrestling? Wasn't the idea that was behind that was to put her there and eventually gets the division over as a whole? What exactly was accomplished by giving Charlotte Flair the NXT Women's Championship? Because I'm struggling to figure out what the entire scenario really was. According to Triple H, it's something else. But the idea from the get-go, the idea from the beginning, was to give her the championship and put over everybody else because of what she meant to the division, what she meant to women's wrestling, what she brings to the table for the women's championship. None of that happened. You didn't put anybody over. The title suffered because of it. Monday Night Raw women's division suffered for it. SmackDown's women's division suffered for it. The overall health and the entirety of the women's division suffered for all of this nonsense that did not need to be on television. Everything that we see from Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, what did it mean? How do you look at this and say, this helped women's wrestling in WWE? How do you look at this and say, this helped NXT on Wednesday night? You can't. You can't. Did it help Charlotte? Yes. But that's what their agenda was from the get-go. And they didn't care how many casualties were in front of them after all of this was over. But that's exactly what you did. You went into this blind, and you didn't care how many casualties were going to come out on the other end of it, as long as Charlotte looked good. As long as she still was your queen. So we go into TakeOver. Casualties left and right. Nobody in the division looks better off for it. They actually look worse. Rhea Ripley cannot look any worse coming out of all of this. And I'm supposed to sit here and listen to some fucking idiot on social media with Charlotte Fan 06794321 as his fucking Twitter handle. And I'm supposed to listen to people in the community that do this longer than I've been doing it. And I gotta listen to the fucking COO of WWE shill me a reason as to why this makes sense. Because Charlotte Flair, the entire reason she was given the championship was to put over the NXT women's division. And instead you killed the NXT women's division. You killed the Monday Night Raw women's division. You killed the SmackDown women's division. And Io Shirai wins the championship without actually pinning Charlotte Flair. She pins the one woman who needed the win most. She pinned the one woman who should have never lost the championship in the first place. So how exactly does that make anybody in the division and the championship look good? I'm struggling to figure this one out. Now, was the decision to put the title on Io Shirai the right one? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it shouldn't have been in the possession of Charlotte Flair to begin with. At all. You made a big fucking mistake. And I don't see, and I'm failing to really see this, how Rhea Ripley is going to benefit from this even after NXT TakeOver in your house on Sunday night. So then we come to Monday. There were reports going around after the show was over last night that Charlotte Flair was going one-on-one with Asuka on Monday Night Raw. I asked why. Does anybody have a legitimate reason for this match happening on Monday night? The answer was, well, the last time they fought, it didn't go as we expected it to go. So let's do it again. As if anybody wanted to see it the first fucking time on Monday night. When was it? Last week? 2 weeks ago? I don't even remember because this show is absolutely excruciating to even remember anything from. We got Charlotte and Asuka on Monday night in the main event. Why? She just lost the main event at NXT TakeOver in your house. She lost the Women's Championship, and she's right back on Monday night challenging the women of Monday Night Raw in the main event. When she has nothing to do with the main event of Monday Night Raw. She has nothing to do with the Raw Women's Championship because she was the NXT Women's Championship in the main event of their show on Sunday night. So I'm struggling to find how this makes sense by putting Charlotte in the main event of Raw against their women's champion when she just lost a women's championship that had nothing to do with Monday night. Yet I get belittled and I get told I don't know anything for complaining about WWE Creative. How does that make sense to you? Oh, that's because Charlotte Flair. That's the only logical reasoning behind it. That is your excuse. Charlotte Flair. So I wondered why. I even joked about it on the NXT TakeOver review. Watch them put Charlotte into the fucking main event of Monday night and have her go up against Asuka and have her win the Raw Women's Championship because Charlotte Flair. And undo everything that you did with Asuka and the Raw Women's Championship because Charlotte Flair. Man, I wasn't too far off, huh? I'm joking around. Meanwhile, my jokes are legitimate in WWE's eyes. So we come to Monday night, and we get this opening segment tonight on the show. Asuka is going one-on-one with Nia Jax at Backlash. You might not even realize that if you watch Monday Night Raw tonight, because you had to sit through 3 hours to be reminded that Asuka was in a women's championship match on Sunday against somebody else not named Charlotte Flair. So, the announcers hyped it up. Asuka and Nia Jax for the Raw Women's title on Sunday at Backlash. Asuka made her way to the ring, and she was scheduled to go one-on-one with Charlotte Flair in a non-title affair in the main event. Just as Charlotte was about to be introduced, Sasha Banks came out with Bayley with their newly won women's tag team championships. Why? Of all places, you want to show up on Monday night. For what? There's no tag teams on Monday night. Why are you showing up on Monday night? Why are you showing up on Monday night to celebrate what you did on Friday? So right out of the gate, I'm asking myself, why? A bunch of times in the first 5 minutes of this show. That should not be a thing. So Sasha Banks comes out with Bayley. Asuka stood there. She looked annoyed. Bayley and Sasha said tonight isn't about the Raw Women's Champion opening Raw. Bayley said, in case anyone has been living under a rock, which I would actually suggest when it comes to watching this show weekly, which is probably a lot of you, she said. They became the tag team, especially if the ratings have any indication of what people are doing. They became tag team champions last week. Asuka heard enough, started yelling at them in Japanese, Bayley explained that as the women's tag team champions of WWE, they're allowed to go to any brand that they want. It's great. So you're showing up on Monday Night Raw where there are no tag teams in said women's division for you to be addressing, but you showed up on Monday Night Raw. Anyway, this is the logic of WWE Creative. This is Ed Koskey and Bruce Pritchard and Paul Heyman's brainchild. This is what you get when you've built zero women's division. You got Sasha Banks and Bayley looking like two bimbos out there who don't know what the fuck they need to do. And that's not right. That's not fair. So why are they here, I ask, again? And why didn't they show up on Friday night to address the fact that they won the SmackDown or the Women's Tag Team Championships on SmackDown? And then I'm going to make a revelation in just a little bit as far as the Tag Team Championships go, because I really don't understand, again, why they showed up on Monday night in a segment with Charlotte and Asuka to open the show. Asuka heard enough, started yelling at them. They're allowed to go to any brand that they want. Sasha told her to back up and shut up and get out. Charlotte interrupted, of course. Charlotte came to the ring. She looked very android-like, very robotic. She congratulated them for winning the tag team titles and going from brand to brand. Good luck keeping up with my stamina, Charlotte said to both Bayley and Sasha Banks. She told them to take their victory lap before someone takes those titles from them. Who? Who's going to take those championships from you? You. Are you suggesting that you also hold the women's tag team championships? Who exactly is going to take these tag team championships from them on the main roster when you have no teams, legit teams, to even warrant a match between Sasha and Bayley against anybody else? That's what I want to know. This is WWE's fault. She told them to enjoy the spotlight, but make it quick because people want to see her wrestle Asuka. Nobody wants to see her wrestle, period, let alone Asuka. She then interrupted the tag team champions and then quickly came out the Iconics, the Moronics, the Stuponics, the Idiotics, the Get Off My TV Onyx. I'm going to take a trip to Flavortown, USA on Food Network Onyx. The Iconics. Charlotte didn't contest them, but said she's the best looking. Where? She's not the best looking in the ring, I'll tell you that. That goes to Sasha. I'm sorry. Mikaze's a lucky guy. Payne Royce said the most anticipated match on Sunday is the triple threat for the Women's Tag Team Championships. I didn't even know there was a triple threat for the Women's Tag Team Championships before you mentioned that. And now that you did, I know what match I'm skipping on Sunday night. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you going out of your way and doing us fans the favor, Miss Peyton Royce. Maybe you're not so idiotic or moronic like I usually say you are. They bragged that they beat Sasha Banks and Bayley at WrestleMania last year to win the tag team titles. They said together they'll make Backlash moronic, which exactly is what they will do on Sunday night. Asuka then ranted in Japanese some more. Charlotte said what she said because she didn't understand what Asuka was saying, but she agreed with what Asuka was saying anyway. Bayley then bragged that Charlotte failed to drive a wedge between them. I don't really understand why Charlotte is driving a wedge between anything Bayley and Sasha Banks, because then it kind of takes away from everything that Sasha Banks and Bayley did on their own leading up to that. But you got to include Charlotte Flair because she's Charlotte Flair. Nobody realized that you're putting more power in Charlotte Flair breaking up Bayley and Sasha than you're giving Sasha and Bayley credit for. And that should not be a thing. Let Sasha and Bayley be the ones to facilitate the breaking up of that duo. We don't need Charlotte Flair to come on in and do what Sasha Banks and Bayley were already building upon in the beginning. This is what people don't understand. It's because Charlotte Flair. She's got to be involved in everything. And I don't know what the internal workings are in WWE right now, but everything seems to be revolving around Charlotte Flair. Because Becky Lynch is out pregnant. And that's not the way it should be. So, Bayley bragged that Charlotte failed to drive a wedge between them. Charlotte said she doesn't need a title or two to be relevant. This is what made me laugh out loud watching Monday Night Raw. She doesn't need a title or two to be relevant in WWE. The only reason why Charlotte is relevant, period, is because of who she is and because that she's going to break her father's fictional title reign of however many fictional WWE championships he held by the time the year is over. In about 5 years, Charlotte will own her father's record, to the surprise of nobody. Charlotte Flair doesn't need a title or two to be relevant. Meanwhile, everywhere you look, every single week, every single pay-per-view, Charlotte is in a title match or in a match where she's defending said title, but she doesn't need a title or two to be relevant on WWE TV. I wish WWE would back up that claim and actually stand by what Charlotte said here. The likelihood of that happening is like me accepting a fucking WWE creative position and actually changing this show around in the way that you guys want. The likelihood of that happening is as if Toni Storm is going to accept a fucking date from me tomorrow when I send her a DM on Instagram. Not happening. Not happening. She said they are still going to be garbage with or without the tag team titles. Or with or without the SmackDown title. I'm going to lump that in there because she said with or without title belts. So I'm sorry. Let me get this straight. WWE pretty much had Charlotte Flair go out there and say she doesn't need to be a champion to be relevant. Meanwhile, we all know that the only reason she is relevant is because of her championship title reigns. Other than that, she has absolutely nothing. And then she follows it up with, there's still going to be garbage, Sasha and Bayley, with or without championship titles. So you actively buried the Women's Tag Team Championships and the SmackDown Women's Championship because Charlotte Flair doesn't have possession of said championships. You actively buried the Women's Tag Team Championships because Charlotte Flair. You buried the SmackDown Women's Championship because Charlotte Flair. This is how we make championships look like they are a prestigious thing in pro wrestling. We have a wrestler in Charlotte Flair putting them down that easy as if it was a snap of a finger. They don't mean anything. I'm sorry. Why don't they mean anything? Because they're on Sasha and Bayley. The Women's Tag Team Championships mean more now, and they're completely beyond repair. They are completely irrelevant, and the best decision that WWE could have done with these championships is put them on Sasha Banks and Bayley, because the titles on Sasha Banks and Bayley are going to facilitate a breakup of these two, which leads to a match between said two at SummerSlam or a later date, whenever WWE has this match planned for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And Bayley is somebody that we all admire. Bayley is somebody that we actually all enjoy watching in the ring, character growth, and the fact that she's best friends with Sasha Banks kind of makes her cool by association as well. Charlotte Flair has none of that. When I see Bayley on my screen, I smile. When I see Sasha Banks on my TV, I smile and get excited. I don't reach for the remote control. When Charlotte Flair is on my TV, I groan, I moan, I reach for the remote control, I think Guy Fieri. If not, I'm vomiting my fucking dinner up because of how overexposed the Charlotte Flair agenda really is. She said they're still going to be garbage with or without title belts. Bayley and Sasha attacked Charlotte. The Moronics beat up Asuka. Bayley and Sasha beat up Charlotte. Asuka and Charlotte made a comeback and cleared the ring. Chaos here on Monday night, says Tom Phillips. And that was the end of the segment. Absolutely nauseating fucking garbage to open Monday night. And we weren't done, folks. We weren't done here. This actually led to a tag team match between Charlotte and Asuka versus the Ikonics versus Sasha and Bayley. Triple threat match to open Monday Night Raw. Again, I ask why. Why are we here? Why are we here at this point on Monday night? How did this make Sasha Banks and Bayley look good? How did this make their championship win on Friday any more of a bigger deal? It didn't. It did. In fact, it did everything to take away from the moment. It did everything to embarrass Sasha Banks and Bayley. It did everything to belittle the Women's Tag Team Championships even more than they already have been belittled. And nobody realizes this. They watch this show and they're like, hee. Oh, look, the Iconics. And they're just accepting WWE for whatever they usually do. And nobody thinks analytical about what they're watching. Nobody takes and analyzes the show. And nobody takes and watches what WWE is really doing here. Instead of taking Sasha Banks and Bayley and making their win a big fucking deal, and I don't know, maybe hitting the reset button on the Women's Tag Team Championships, you put them on Monday Night Raw to have all of this negative shit happen to them and their title win to enhance Charlotte Flair. And I don't like this anymore. I'm sick and tired of this Charlotte Flair agenda. So why did you really bring Sasha Banks and Bayley to Monday night? It's as if you brought them to Monday night because you could, because they were the Women's Tag Team Champions and they could go up on Raw, they could go up on NXT, they could go up on SmackDown and do whatever they want because they are free-floating. They could do whatever they want and show up on any brand that they want. But you opted for them to show up on Monday night to be belittled and not make the championships look like a big deal in the possession of Sasha Banks and Bayley. Why didn't you have them show up on Wednesday night? What are they really going to do on Monday night? It's as if you use them because of who they are as tag team champions now because you could, and you put them on Monday night to generate interest in a women's division that has no interest right now whatsoever, on a show that is absolutely hemorrhaging ratings at a record pace on Monday night. That's the only reason why you did it. And that's exactly what it comes off as. Instead, you could have brought them to Wednesday night and, I don't know, actually have them make the championships mean something. I don't know, maybe put them up against some legit teams that you have down there on NXT TV. They should not be on Monday night because they have nothing to do with Monday night. You could put them on Wednesday night and actually start and continue building those Women's Tag Team Championships all over again, and you can continue building the slow separation of Sasha Banks and Bayley with every single match they have against, I don't know, you could put them up against Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox, being that they are a duo now on NXT TV. You could put them up against anybody up there that's been a duo. You could put them up against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. You could have fun with Sasha Banks and Bayley in NXT. It would be right. It would make sense. It would feel good. They want to be back there. They want to be in the ring against that type of competition, that type of up-and-coming competition. But no, you use them and belittle the championships and put them in a ring against the very team that you decided to put the championships on last year that should have never even sniffed a championship title reign at WrestleMania. You put them in a match, in a ring against the team that should have never even been the Raw or the Women's tag team champions because you didn't even want the tag team championships to begin with in the WWE, and you were looking for any which way to bury Sasha, bury Bayley by any means, and bury the tag team championships because you had no interest in even having women's tag team championships. You belittled them right out of the gate, and that continued up until where we see Monday Night Raw tonight. So we got Charlotte and Asuka versus the Iconics against Sasha and Bayley. I don't get why they're there, but we got it. Asuka and Charlotte win. So Asuka lock. Asuka tagged herself in, applied the Asuka lock on one of the Iconics. I don't remember who it was. Who gives a shit? And that was it. Sasha and Bayley weren't going to lose. Why were they even in here? Why were they in this match? And then you tagged Asuka and Charlotte when that was supposed to be the main event of the show. So what happened here, folks? Outside of what I just mentioned with Sasha and Bayley, what is WWE doing here? They tagged Charlotte and Asuka together, and we're still getting Charlotte and Asuka in the main event one-on-one. So what we did here is we had Charlotte go from 3 brands to NXT TakeOver in Your House, lose the women's championship on NXT TakeOver in Your House, and go right back to Monday Night Raw, the brand in which she is associated with, only for WWE to use her twice in one night, defeating the purpose of even taking the championship off of her on Sunday night in the first place. So what you did is you're just giving me the same shit without Charlotte holding a championship, which nobody asked for. And again, I'm going to blow your mind. Why is Charlotte even on this show? Why is she in the ring in this match? Why is she tagging with Asuka? On top of why Bayley and Sasha Banks are there, nobody knows. On top of that, why are the Iconics even in the tag team title picture when they lost? They have nothing to do with the women's tag team championships. They lost. Again, let me cycle back. Why is Charlotte Flair here? She just lost a main event title match, and she's right back on Monday night for no reason whatsoever. This is the go-home show for Backlash, a show that does not include Charlotte Flair. Charlotte has not even been on the build for Backlash or on the road to Backlash, yet she's on the go-home show, factoring into a major title program that she was clearly absent from for the last 4 weeks. So again, I ask, why is Charlotte on the go-home show for a pay-per-view that she has absolutely nothing to do with? Would it have been so difficult to keep Charlotte Flair off of television? Would it have been that difficult to keep Charlotte Flair off of WWE television? I know this may be a foreign language to the fucking people working in the company. Would it have been a difficult thing to keep Charlotte Flair off of television for 1 week? 1 week. The answer is no. They don't want to keep Charlotte Flair off of television for whatever reason. Everybody thinks in the company they want more Charlotte Flair. People want more Charlotte Flair. Where? According to the ratings, nobody wants Charlotte Flair. According to social media, nobody wants Charlotte Flair. When WWE has to shield their responses and give fucking excuses every which way about why this is going to work out and why this storyline is moving this way and why Charlotte Flair doesn't really deserve the hate that she's getting because she's a Flair, that's not the case, and why Charlotte Flair wasn't pinned in the main event of TakeOver, you're making excuses for what you know is wrong. You're trying too hard to cover the truth. When you have to go out of your way to fucking defend the way that you defend Charlotte Flair, you know that you are fucking up. You know what is happening. You know what is happening creatively is wrong. It is wrong. Otherwise, you wouldn't be putting so much energy in defending everything that's coming your way because of the decisions that you make. What needs to happen now is Charlotte Flair should be nowhere near a Raw Women's Championship. Those days are over and should be over for a very long time. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do. Nobody's going to listen to me because I'm just some fucking fool on YouTube who likes to bitch, moan, and complain about pro wrestling in his quote-unquote basement. I'm going to tell you what you need to do right now. And if you don't listen to me, you're doing it all wrong. You're doing it all wrong. Sasha Banks and Bayley deserve better. You leave them by themselves. You leave Sasha Banks and Bayley to do what they need to do away from the Iconics, away from Asuka, away from Raw, away from Charlotte. No question. Sasha Banks and Bayley are the tag team champions of WWE. They need to show up on Wednesday and do exactly what they stated last year when they won the tag team championships. Something that WWE didn't give them the pleasure of doing. And that show, they did show up on one Wednesday night, and then that was the last time we seen them on Wednesday night. WWE actively took them off of Sasha Banks and Bayley, and that was it. That was the last time we seen Sasha and Bayley on NXT. You move Sasha and Bayley to NXT and have them do exactly what they stated last year for the women's tag team division. Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart or Mia Yim, any combination of the three, Dakota Kai and whoever else, Raquel Gonzalez. There's a tag team there. You want to do Chelsea Green and Aaliyah. I'm hearing Chelsea Green ain't being called up to the main roster. Whatever you want to do. You can find women there and have them go through several combinations of women, and I think that they would love not only being there, but they would love the competition. You can slowly start building the tease of a breakup. You can slowly start building the frustration between Sasha and Bayley on NXT TV. And it would be genuine because they have within every given right to be there, being that the rules of the tag team championships are you could go to any show you want. This isn't a situation where we're taking Charlotte and putting her on NXT because of AEW. We're not taking Charlotte from Monday Night Raw and putting her on Wednesday to combat the fucking ratings. It's not as desperate of a maneuver as that. It actually fits into the protocol of WWE with the Women's Tag Team Championships. That's step one. That's step one. We don't need Sasha and Bayley being belittled by Charlotte or the Women's Tag Team Championships being belittled by Charlotte whatsoever because I don't like that. I don't like that. WWE needs to do a better job at depicting Sasha and Bayley after they won the tag team championships in general. Yet Sasha Banks shows some real indifference towards Bayley. You showed some frustration on Sasha Banks with Bayley leading up to winning the tag team championships in that tag team championship match. And now all of a sudden, because they won the tag team championships, that feeling and that emotion is erased? Sasha Banks should always be looking at Bayley in those ways, with or without the tag team championships. It needs to be visible. Part of this is their body language. Part of this is watching where Sasha Banks' eyes are looking. Sometimes she looks at Bayley as if Bayley's her best friend. Sometimes she's eyeing the SmackDown Women's Championship. Sometimes she's eyeing Bayley when Bayley wants to say that Sasha Banks is the boss, the legit GOAT, the greatest of all time. She should know that Bayley is just kind of sugarcoating Sasha Banks and that it's fair game in the end. You may be my best friend, but this is the women's division of WWE, and I am the legit boss, and please do not make me show you what that really means. All because they won the tag team championships doesn't mean that we're all buddy-buddy now. Because the way to win those tag team championships didn't come easy. Sasha Banks had to do it, and do it the right way, because Bayley almost fucked it up. So WWE needs to do a better job at doing that. But they need to be on Wednesday and not Monday Night Raw because this didn't do Sasha or the titles or Bayley any good whatsoever. Now let's get to the good stuff. What do we do with Charlotte Flair? Charlotte Flair should not be anywhere near the Raw Women's Championship or a championship in WWE, period. Charlotte Flair had nothing to do with Backlash. So why is she on Monday Night Raw's go-home show for Backlash in a non-title match with the Raw Women's Champion? Nia Jax is in the championship match on Sunday. You would not have even remembered if Nia Jax didn't show up in the main event on Monday Night Raw. She came out at the last minute, cost Asuka the match. Charlotte won, which I seen Asuka kick out of the big boot. And that was it. So why is Charlotte on the show when she has nothing to do with the pay-per-view? It's as if WWE is pretty much eliminating Nia Jax from winning a match, period, which we kind of knew going in. But this kind of solidified that fact. It's almost as if they're building Asuka and Charlotte Flair before we even get Asuka and Nia Jax on Sunday night. And why are we doing that? What gives Charlotte Flair the right to go from NXT Women's Champion, losing the championship, to Asuka and challenging for the Raw Women's Championship? What happened in between there? Nothing. What did she do to deserve even getting in the ring with Asuka tonight? What did she do to even earn a shot at the championship? Period. She did nothing. So why is she there? Should have been Nia Jax and Asuka building towards their match on Sunday night, not Charlotte and Asuka building towards their inevitable feud. Charlotte Flair needs to be away from the Raw Women's Championship. Where is Bianca Belair? This is what I've been stating for weeks. Why is Bianca Belair on WWE Main Event? Why is Bianca Belair being hidden on Monday night? Why did you even bother calling her up? What good is Bianca Belair away from Monday Night Raw? I don't understand the creative decision in this company to keep probably the most talented woman in the entire division off of TV. This is mind-boggling. So you call Bianca Belair up, you stifle her momentum to put her on Main Event against Ruby Riott. Ruby Riott, of all people, deserves a fucking opportunity as well. Why aren't we seeing those two women go and being built up on Monday night in the women's division? Why are we having to go and seek it out on Main Event? Didn't Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair have something back and forth? Didn't Bianca Belair give Charlotte Flair the "you don't even go here" treatment? So now they're on the same brand. And you're actively keeping Bianca Belair away from Charlotte Flair? Why? Why? Oh, because we can't upset the queen. Charlotte's not even in the position to put anybody over. Oh, that's right. She doesn't want to put anybody over. Charlotte Flair should actively be putting Bianca Belair over after Backlash. That is where Charlotte Flair's value comes in. At Backlash, Asuka and Nia Jax on Monday night, you should have automatically been planting the seeds and coming up with a way and a plan to get Bianca Belair on television and her challenging Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair is the greatest of all time. So please show me in a match with Bianca Belair. That is your opportunity to do good. That is your opportunity to put over somebody who has all the capabilities in the world, all the tools in the world to be the next Becky Lynch of the Monday Night Raw women's division, but you actively go against that and you do not embrace change. You do not embrace fresh talent. You do not embrace anybody that isn't, in the office's eyes, the elite. Charlotte Flair should be actively putting over Bianca Belair after Backlash. Meanwhile, Asuka is building her feud with Shayna Baszler, where another one I'm going to ask, why hasn't Shayna Baszler been on TV? Why hasn't Shayna Baszler been on TV? Where did she go? Did she go back to the UFC? Did she go back to MMA? What did she do? Did she quit? Because I know I would have if you botched my fucking WWE main roster call-up twice. Twice in 3 months. I know I would have. Well, Asuka is building her feud with Shayna Baszler because Shayna clearly is the next in line. Clearly the next in line. The way you've depicted it on TV. You build Shayna to take the title off of Asuka. Meanwhile, Bianca is being put over in her feud with Charlotte Flair. And then Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler could go one-on-one for the Women's Championship. Then, at that point, you could take Charlotte and Asuka and start feuding them. And then Nia or whoever, Ruby, Liv Morgan, or maybe a complete reshuffling of the division. Meanwhile, you got Sasha and Bayley on NXT doing their thing, and subtle hints every single week of frustration coming out, winning their matches. But because of sheer stupidity, Bayley costing them some matches. You know, whether it be a non-title match or whether it be a championship match where Bayley just says, you know what, I'm the leader of this team, and takes it into her own hands and goes and does what she did on Friday night, and it actually costs them the championship. And then you start building that on NXT, which eventually goes right back to Friday night. How great would it be if an NXT team beat Sasha Banks and Bayley to take those championships to a Monday and Friday night? Is WWE utilizing these championships as a way to not only enhance the titles, but maybe get some new talent in the eyes of new fans? How great would it be if Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart showed up on a Monday night or showed up on a Friday night? How great would it be if Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai showed up on a Monday night or Friday night? Or Mia Yim and a Shotzi Blackheart, or Mia Yim and a Tegan Nox showed up on a Monday or Friday night? Or a Chelsea Green and Aaliyah showed up on Monday or Friday night? Why aren't you utilizing the titles in that way? Why aren't you actively going out there and showing us that you care about women's wrestling in WWE? WWE is doing everything that they can to show us that they don't give a shit about women's wrestling. The only thing that they give a shit about is pushing Charlotte Flair to the top while embarrassing and destroying the overall health of both Monday Night Raw and Friday night and their women's division. I'm sick and tired of this shit. I really am. It is at a point right now where it is overwhelming and nobody wants to watch. Every time she's on TV, people actively want to seek out and do anything else but watch WWE programming when she is on. Too many people came out after she lost the championship and were happy she lost the championship. Too many people came out in support of EO, fan and roster alike. What does that tell you? When Charlotte wins a championship, is anybody praising Charlotte Flair? Is anybody actively going out there and congratulating Charlotte Flair? No. And that's the vibe you get. Women like that, performers like that, because in the eyes of WWE, they could do no wrong, and that's all they want to do. Eyes of the fans look at someone like Charlotte Flair, and they don't care. They don't care. The roster doesn't care because the roster knows. She's only where she is right now because of who she is and because of WWE management just looking at her as the legit queen of the company. For whatever reason. Family background, Ric Flair's daughter, this and that, superior athlete. I can't take this anymore. It really is at a point right now where every time Charlotte is on TV, I am actively not even wanting to talk about it. But this all needed to be said here. I don't even give a shit about what happened on this fucking show. This is the one thing that needs to be talked about because it's taking over the entire fucking company. If WWE does what I stated here, then we would be in a position to make this right. But we are not. This is WWE actively making the women's division worse. Moving on. What else happened on this show? I mean, who gives a shit? Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo versus Austin Theory and Buddy Murphy. Black and Carrillo win. It's exactly what I told you it would be. This is Seth Rollins and his guys going up against Black and Humberto with Rey Mysterio coming back when he comes back. It's exactly what I talked about on Off the Script. This is going to be a 6-man rinse and repeat, back and forth, different variation of what's going on here. So we got Rollins and Murphy, Rollins and Theory, Murphy and Theory against any kind of variation of Humberto and Black, and when Rey Mysterio comes back, you can add him to the fold as well. Meanwhile, we've already seen this when Rollins was feuding with Owens, when Rollins was feuding with the Street Profits, when Rollins was feuding with Samoa Joe. This is exactly the same thing that we seen going into the Royal Rumble. But nobody is smart enough to realize that. You've seen this already. And WWE is doing the same thing on Monday night. Nobody cares. And WWE is going to kill this feud and this storyline the more that they rinse and repeat the same old shit that we've seen already. Rey Mysterio was there. He was on a Skype or a Zoom call. Rollins was on commentary. So he sat down at commentary. He says he doesn't know when he'll compete again, said Mysterio. If ever. But if he can, he will deliver a 619 to Seth that he won't see coming. You'll pay for what you did to me and what you put my family through. I'm going to kick your ass. Seth angrily said Rey cannot keep expressing these lies. He said he had a chance to walk away gracefully and he could have walked away a hero. But he is spreading misinformation. He said he is a peaceful man and he gave him an opportunity to walk away a legend. He personally invited him and his son Dominic to come to Raw next week. Will we see Dominic on Monday night? I hope so. It's following a pay-per-view. We need to get things in motion here. And like I said, I hope WWE does at least something that I recommended, where Rey Mysterio is not coming back and doctors tell him not to come back. Dominic fights for his honor, and then a stipulation is brought down on Rey Mysterio and Dominic that if Dominic loses and does fight for his father's honor, then he joins Rollins, Austin Theory, and Buddy Murphy in his group and has to do his bidding, whatever that may be, which will bring Rey Mysterio back out of retirement for a one-on-one match against Seth Rollins, and he will save his son from the evil Seth Rollins. Simple. Simple. How you go about it and what you have Rollins do to Dominic and how you have Rollins torture Dominic, whatever. Whatever. I think it's a great storyline. And it's the most important thing on Monday Night Raw right now because nothing else is clicking. So Rey said he knows he is inviting him only because he isn't medically cleared, but when he is cleared, Seth will find out. Seth told Rey he has the whole thing backwards, and then Aleister Black leapt out at Seth out of nowhere. I don't know where he came from, but that led to the match, which Black and Carrillo won. They beat Austin Theory and Buddy Murphy. Rey's music played after the match was over. Seth walked out in a Rey mask to his theme music. That distracted Carrillo and Black, so Murphy and Theory attacked them. Seth entered the ring in a suit and joined in on the attack. Seth yelled at Black and he warned him to not stick his nose in his business anymore. They threw Carrillo out of the ring, then triple-teamed Black. Seth said he will make him a sacrifice. Black and Theory held him, or Murphy and Theory held him, and then threw him to the mat. Seth delivered a stomp, and that was pretty much it. That was the end of the segment, and he taught Aleister Black a lesson for attacking him earlier in this segment. Guys, I know times are tough right now, and your shaving game might be a little bit off. I mean, mine's not, but I'll tell you why in a second. But Harry's is still there to help you keep your best look while saving you a little bit of cash along the way. Business on top and PJs on the bottom. Harry's has your grooming needs covered with high-quality blades as low as $2 each, delivered straight to your doorstep. Now, I am clearly growing my beard out, but the reason my beard looks so magnificent at this point in time is because I use Harry's. I love the glide of the blade. I love the smoothness of the blade over my sensitive skin. And my sensitive skin is taken care of because of their beautiful shaving gel with aloe, man. It smells fantastic. It leaves a nice tingling sensation on your face. And I never cut myself using any of Harry's products, man. It is absolutely the best shave that I've ever had, period. And I have not looked back. You guys can feel all of this for yourself and get yourself a Harry's trial set delivered right to your doorstep by using harrys.com/scripts. Harry's is a return to the essential. Quality, durable blades at a fair price. They are just $2 per blade. They actually cut out the middleman, manufacturing blades in their German blade factory that's been honing precision blades for over a century, which means you guys get incredibly high-quality blades at factory direct prices. Harry's is also super convenient. Blade refills are delivered directly to your door on your schedule with or without a subscription. And in this particularly challenging time, feel a little bit better about where you're putting your money. 1% of proceeds are set aside for nonprofit organizations devoted to helping provide access to better healthcare for men and veterans. And Harry's is actually supporting $1 million worth of shaving supplies to hospitals across the United States. What can you guys get when you use our unique link, harrys.com/scripts? A weighted handle with a firm grip, 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and a trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel with aloe, and it smells fantastic, and a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and easy on the go. Guys, start shaving better today, and there's no better way than Harry's. Harrys.com/scripts. WWE hyped a Peep Show segment for Monday night with Christian Cage and Edge in a final shilling before Edge and Randy Orton at WWE Backlash, which is already filmed, from what I'm hearing. They already filmed this match ahead of everything else because Edge and Randy Orton. They wanted to make sure it comes off like the best match that these two could possibly put on. And that's not the only thing that's in the news regarding Randy Orton. We'll talk about that in a second, which I don't understand the news going on with Randy Orton right now on social media. It's just very bizarre. So Edge made his entrance. Christian said at first he was really supportive of Edge's return and having a big moment at WrestleMania. But he said now he's thinking Edge is simply running on fumes. The audience just annoyingly chanted, "You still got it, you still got it," as if it was on cue. They are really kind of stripping away the genuineness of these NXT talents standing in his fans, by the way. He said he doesn't think he was capable of having the greatest match ever, even in his prime. Then they booed. Christian said they're best friends and they have to be brutally honest with each other. He said if he thinks he can live up to the hype, he's lying to himself and starting to buckle. He said he doesn't think he can handle the pressure. So Edge obviously got angrier and angrier with Christian. He stood up and asked if he ever thought what it's like to be in his shoes. He said he hasn't had a straight-up wrestling match without bells and whistles in 9.5 years. He said the pressure is like being dropped in the middle of Mount Everest with no gear, no crew, and being told just to climb. Then he started talking in the third person. Forgive me if this Edge is a little different, if this Edge has some self-doubt. He said this isn't the same Edge who used to give Christian a pep talk every night to give him confidence when he was so nervous before each one of their tag team matches. Pardon me if this Edge has some self-doubt. I'm about to face Randy Orton, who's been around the last 9.5 years, firing on every cylinder. I don't know how many cylinders I have left under my hood. Then Christian stood up and started saying, "Excuses. All I'm hearing right now is excuses." Christian asked if he thought he could just deliver the greatest hits and that would be enough. Christian then got up in Edge's face and said, "You know, I used to know your mom who believed in you more than anyone." Then he started to say his mom will be sitting there at ringside watching this one too. Then Edge obviously started to get angrier. Edge's eyes started to get a little red. Looked like he was about to tear up at the talk of his mother. Christian called him Adam and said, if this is the best that we're going to get of Edge, then you might as well not even show up at Backlash. Go home right now. Edge started to stare at Christian even more, and then Christian broke into a smile all of a sudden and said, "That's what I was looking for. That's the Edge I know. We believe in you. We saw something at WrestleMania." He said Orton never saw that side of Edge before when he put Orton down in that submission at WrestleMania. He said he has to just go into Backlash, and he's got the anti-venom. We have confidence in you. We think you can do this. We think you can win. We think you can have the greatest wrestling match ever. Orton interrupted from backstage. He said he's sick to his stomach if he has to keep listening to these two shill themselves in the ring. Orton said all he hears is them talking about what they think, not what they know. He said it's pathetic that Edge is saying he's going to try. He said the pressure going into this match is astronomical. So what is he going to do when he doesn't live up to those expectations? He says he's going to take every ounce of grit away from Edge, and he'll send him back to his wife, Beth, and his baby girls, Ruby and Lyric. He said at Backlash, in this greatest wrestling match ever, the redemption of Edge is over. Edge paused. Someone in the audience said, "Nonsense." And Edge told Orton, "No, it's not." And then he threw it down, or threw the microphone down. So again, nothing really new here. They got Christian to do a different take of what we seen Ric Flair do, and a different take on what Shawn Michaels said, and whoever else is talking about this greatest match ever. This was probably the most effective way of the greatest match ever build, or the most effective way in this greatest match ever build, using his legitimate best friend to try and just muster up that inner confidence in him to deliver, quote-unquote, the greatest wrestling match ever. I appreciated the effort, but the moniker and the spotlight and the hashtag or whatever they're doing as far as the billing of this match is still fucking terrible. I still think it's a joke. I still sit here loving both of these guys, even though Edge has me blocked on social media. For whatever reason, I don't know. Still love these guys, but I do not think now or even then in their prime, they were even capable of delivering what is the greatest wrestling match ever. It doesn't exist in the world of Randy Orton and Edge. Now, I'm trying to look outside the fucking box here. Is it the greatest wrestling match that these two will ever have in their careers? I don't even think it's that, if you even want to go into that scenario and try to kind of redeem yourself in maybe explaining this to somebody else. Because when a normal person hears this, who has any sort of knowledge on pro wrestling, and they think greatest wrestling match ever, they're not going to be thinking Randy Orton and Edge. Is it the greatest wrestling match that they will ever have? Who knows? I certainly hope so. From what I was told and what I heard, this match was already filmed, and it was very good. Is it going to live up to the greatest wrestling match ever? No. Nothing will. The greatest wrestling match ever already happened at WrestleMania 25, in my honest opinion, with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. This is not it. Is this the greatest wrestling match that Edge and Randy Orton will have? Probably not. But I'm going to just leave it at that. Because I said all I could say about WWE's terrible marketing for this, with its terrible theme music to go along with this shit. It's not. They've already pigeonholed themselves, and they've already embarrassed Edge and Randy Orton with this fucking greatest wrestling match ever bullshit. Because no way, no how will they be able to live up to it at Backlash. So they're already setting them up for an inevitable failure. But if this entire feud was built on promo work alone, it might be the greatest ever. Or one of the greatest ever. But we're not talking about promo work or segments or whatever they have said in the past. We're not building this entire feud just based on promos. Going back and forth between Edge and Randy Orton and getting their family involved, their wives involved, their best friends involved. It's just not consolidated to that. The match at WrestleMania did a lot of bad. And I have my reasons. And I'm sure we'll go over it this week when we talk about Backlash. I have my reasons for not really caring about this. Their actions on social media, the match at WrestleMania, the fact that they can't take criticism, the fact that Edge went out there and said everybody is a malcontent of just negative energy. I can't get behind what they're trying to do here because they don't really respect the fans' criticisms. So, pardon me if I'm not excited about this. At the end of the day, this segment was the most effective in the entire build for this second match. And I thought Christian did a fantastic job and cut a fantastic promo on his best friend to muster that edge that he says has been missing. So I thought he did a very good job here. We've seen the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits do a decathlon. This was terrible. I don't know what's going to happen with the tag team division on Monday Night Raw, but it may be irreparable at this point. The Raiders brought swords and shields. The Profits chose a race and won. The Raiders chose archery and they won. They did a gag where Angelo Dawkins shot a guy with his shoe with the bow and arrow. Then the Profits challenged the Raiders to a flip cup competition and they won. The Raiders then got mad and smashed the table after they lost. The Raiders chose swords next, or sword fighting next. Montez Ford forfeited because he didn't want to do sword fighting. The Raiders asked what a forfeit was. The Profits chose then hurdles. They won that. The Raiders celebrated like Ivar won because he ran through all the hurdles instead of jumping over them. The Profits explained that plowing through the hurdles isn't the goal. Leaping over them without knocking them down is the goal. The Raiders then chose stick fighting. Dawkins gave Ford a hard time for forfeiting the sword fight. Dawkins ended up in an inflatable kiddie pool filled with milk, I believe it was, or coconut milk, or whatever the fuck was in the pool. Yes, this is Monday Night Raw's Tag Team Division, folks. Please, bear with me here. So, the Profits issued a dance-off. Ford and Dawkins danced, mostly Ford, to Shawn Michaels' theme music. And then Ivar started dancing to Fandango's theme music. So he hit one of the judges, or he hit on one of the judges. He didn't hit legitimately. He hit on one of the judges. And she smiled at him. And the first judge gave the wins to the Profits. And then the judge that he danced with, that Ivar, gave, obviously, her vote to them. And then the Profits ended up winning it because they had a 2-1 vote. She said Ivar was cute, Eric not so much. So that was the running gag even still during this entire thing. And they were 4-3 at this point. The Raiders selected shot put. The Raiders selected then turkey leg eating. Dawkins wanted some sauce because he said the turkey legs were dry. The Raiders won that. The Profits chose then pole vaulting. Ford vaulted, then celebrated. Ivar asked them to raise the pole vault, and he charged and cleared the highest bar. Profits obviously were beside themselves, and it was 5-5, and they argued afterward who was the best. So they tied in the end in the decathlon. So, of course, they did. Folks, if you are listening to me, whether you're listening to me on YouTube or Spotify, or this is the state of your Monday Night Raw Tag Team divisions, that we got to do a fucking decathlon for the Monday Night Raw Tag Team Championships. Where do we go from here? Are we going to get the wrestling match at Backlash? I would assume so. Right? And where do you go after Backlash with the tag team titles? Seems like there's nobody else in the tag team division. I don't know. I'm tired of complaining. Andrade versus Angel Garza versus Kevin Owens. Triple threat match. Winner gets a United States Championship match at Apollo Crews at Backlash. And obviously, if you guys know anything about WWE booking, they love to do the blatantly obvious. I said this on social media, just looking at this triple threat match and knowing that the stipulation is whoever's winning this is going to get Apollo Crews at the pay-per-view for the United States Championship. Clearly, it's not going to be Angel Garza because he's got more upside than anybody in this entire match. He's got more upside than anybody in Zelina's group right now. And it's not going to be Kevin Owens because if you put Kevin Owens in a United States Championship match, a lot of people are probably going to expect him to win the championship. And I think with the current climate of what's going on in the United States right now and around the world, I think taking the title off of Apollo Crews is pretty much a bad idea. Let the guy run with it. WWE cannot afford to make anybody else more angry with their creative decisions. Apollo Crews is going to be a guy that is going to be a great United States champion if you let him. And he deserves it. So let's see him ride this one out. Start building a fucking mid-card around him and start building some prestige in that United States Championship. Now, clearly, it can't be Garza. It can't be Owens. So, of course, Andrade is going to get the win because in WWE's eyes, Andrade really doesn't mean much. So having him win this to go and fight Apollo for a third time this month, it's going to be easy pickings for Apollo Crews. The winner is in the bag. Apollo can have Andrade, and he can have another victory over Andrade at the pay-per-view, and you don't need to sacrifice Garza or Kevin Owens in doing so. So that's exactly what happened here. So we got Garza super kicking Andrade. They were going back and forth. Owens super kicked Garza, and then Andrade gave Andrade a frog splash for a near fall. Andrade hit Owens with a back elbow for a near fall. Garza gave Owens a missile dropkick. Then Garza and Andrade traded strikes. Owens took out both guys with a flip dive. Garza countered Owens' stunner attempt and kicked his leg. And he kind of went after the leg that he usually goes after because of the feud that they had going on. If you guys remember, a couple weeks back, Garza attacked the leg in a pre-match attack against Kevin Owens. So that was the issue there. So we went right after the leg. Owens fought out of a submission and gave Garza a stunner, but Andrade dropkicked Owens and covered Garza for the pinfall win. Decent match, but a very likely outcome, and a likely outcome going into the pay-per-view with Apollo now defending against Andrade because Owens and Garza have more upside than Andrade at the moment, and that's why Andrade is getting the match at Backlash this Sunday for the United States Championship. Charlotte was interviewed. She said she didn't lose her NXT Championship last night because she wasn't pinned. There you go. She said she didn't get pinned or submit. She said she was raised to respect the rule. To beat the woman, to be the woman, you have to beat the woman, she said. She said she accomplished her goal of elevating the NXT women's division. No, you didn't. I just ranted for 50 fucking minutes about why you didn't. No, you didn't. She said Asuka tried to steal her moment. Asuka danced into the screen and sang while holding up the Raw Women's Championship. Charlotte asked if she ever takes anything seriously, and then Asuka said, yes, I do, and then slapped the shit out of Charlotte. Loved it. We got Kurt Angle going over why Edge and Randy Orton will be the greatest wrestling match ever. Who cares? If you guys legitimately watch Kurt Angle in this segment, my God, I'm watching his eyes and I'm watching him read the teleprompter just by watching his eyes go back and forth. He could not have sounded any more scripted in what he said about Edge and Randy Orton. None. Could not sound any more scripted. Terrible. Backstage, the Viking Raiders were standing by themselves. Drew McIntyre came up to them. Drew smiled and said that he is considering joining the Viking Raiders. Please don't. Please don't. Unless you want to be embarrassed in a fucking decathlon and mini golf and fucking tennis or chess or whatever the fuck, the bowling. Please. Drew smiled. He said he's considering it. Drew talked about Ivar being a ladies' man, but Eric not so much. Drew says he's having a get-together after the show tonight, and he's got some turkey legs for them. Drew says he's a Celtic warrior, they're Vikings, and they can have some fun. Drew said, stick around for the VIP lounge because you never know what could happen on Raw. MVP lounge hit. We got MVP talking about Lashley, and Lashley was apparently the guest on the MVP lounge, the VIP lounge. So Drew McIntyre came out instead of Bobby Lashley. He was all smiles. MVP looked upset. Drew said after last week he was concerned about MVP and the fact that they weren't friends anymore. But after that introduction, I still see how you feel about me. So MVP tried to explain he wasn't talking about him. I was about to introduce Bobby Lashley, but you came out. And Drew said, well, listen, you forgot to mention I was the WWE champion. Not to nitpick your introduction. MVP said, listen, we're not friends anymore. And he asked him why he was there. Drew says he couldn't help but notice that Lana and Lashley were having a disagreement backstage, so he decided to come on out. MVP said he wasn't talking about him and his Claymore, but he was talking about Lashley and his Phil Nelson, which he'll use to take the WWE Championship from Drew McIntyre at Backlash. Drew said MVP has taken so many Claymores recently, he gets why he's hiding behind Bobby Lashley. MVP said he doesn't hide behind anyone, he's just managing Lashley. Drew says he doesn't understand their relationship. And then he asked, are you his Yoda? He asked if he's going to teach him about the 0 world titles he's won. So Drew then said he gets a countdown before kicking him in the face. Remember, you know the countdown? Remember the countdown? So he said, listen, you can take it like a man or run away, and I'll chase you down and give it to you anyway. So Lashley showed up just before Drew counted down to 1 to Claymore MVP in the face again. Drew told Lashley he can get the WWE title from him by prying it out of his cold, dead hands. That's the only way you're going to get the WWE Championship. MVP made a move towards Drew, but Drew headbutted him. The Raiders came out. Then the Prophets came out for whatever reason, and they're all standing at ringside. And we got the Viking Raiders with the Street Profits and Drew McIntyre versus MVP and Bobby Lashley. So Lashley and MVP won this one when Lashley speared Ivar on the floor, and then he started to stare down Drew. He re-entered the ring. Eric shoved MVP, so Lashley was able to blind tag him. Eric kneed MVP and bent over to trash talk him. Lashley then came in from behind with a full Nelson for the win. So I don't really understand the fact that you threw the Viking Raiders out there to lose when they're going up against the Street Profits in a tag team championship match whenever that happens. But the Viking Raiders were sacrificed here for what? Bobby Lashley and MVP. This is the extent of WWE's creative, folks. On the go-home show in which we do not see Bobby Lashley as a WWE Championship title contender or a threat to the WWE Championship at all, they've opted to throw the Viking Raiders in front of Lashley and MVP, have them lose, so now everybody looks at Lashley as a contender for the WWE Championship because he and MVP beat the Viking Raiders. Is that what I'm trying to understand here? Is that what WWE is trying to tell us here? I don't see it. I don't really see it. All I see is that you took one team of two teams in the tag team division and had one of those teams lose when one of those teams is going on to challenge for the tag team championships? Why would you put them in a tag team match to lose while they're going up against a tag team champion? I don't know, man. I'm done trying to figure this shit out. I really am. And then Asuka and Charlotte Flair, listen, I'm not talking about this shit. I really don't care. I really do not care. Was the match good? Yeah, the match was good. Did the outcome suffice? No, it did not. Because Charlotte beat Asuka. So what is WWE going to do now? Are they going to add Charlotte to the match at Backlash just to give her a role at the pay-per-view? Are they going to give Charlotte the women's championship because, God forbid, Charlotte is on a show without a championship? Do they add Charlotte to this match to make it a better match because they don't trust Nia Jax and Asuka to deliver a Raw Women's Championship match at the pay-per-view? And then where do we go from here? Shayna Baszler's not on TV. Ruby Riot's not on TV. Liv Morgan's not on TV. Shayna Baszler's not on TV. Bianca Belair's not on TV. Natty's not on TV. Who's on TV? It's Charlotte and Asuka. So what do? Are they building towards SummerSlam with Shayna and Asuka, or are they building towards SummerSlam with Charlotte and Asuka? Or maybe before then. Maybe Extreme Rules. Maybe they got something else planned for Charlotte or the Women's Championship at SummerSlam. Maybe that's Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley, with all that's going on, she looks like a complete loser. Maybe WWE is going to give Charlotte the Raw Women's Championship, and the greatest story that they're all talking about is Charlotte winning the Raw Women's Championship and then having Rhea Ripley called up to take the Raw Women's Championship from Charlotte Flair on Monday night. Then that would defeat the purpose of literally everything you've tried to do with the Raw Women's division from the beginning. With Shayna, with Asuka, with Bianca, you're going right back to what you should have did in NXT on Monday night. I don't know where they go from here. But all I know, everything that I said in the first 50 minutes of this shit should be on a fucking, on a plaque somewhere, hanging up in Stamford, Connecticut. I'm tired of Charlotte Flair, as is everybody else. I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys very much for all your support. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. And I'll see you guys right back here for more content on Wednesday with AEW Dynamite, Thursday NXT, Friday Off the Script and SmackDown, and then we got Backlash this weekend. I'll be here to cover it all right here on Off the Script. Until then, guys, hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you right back here on Wednesday for Dynamite.